Hello, I'm Lizard Wizard, the Wizard Lizard. Thanks for... Hey, it's Lloyd! Lloyd Lizard of Lloyd Lizard's Lizard Wizard Bazaar of the Bazaar. Looks like the wizard's got his hands full with real life, so I guess that means this time old Lloyd made some changes around here. I mean, look at this mess. It's a wonder anything gets done around here. Hey, sorry about that. Sometimes life involves prioritizing other things for a spell, which is why this video is later than usual. I'm Lizard Wizard, the Wizard Lizard. Thanks for joining me. If you're new here, I am currently working on an indie game called H347, or Heat. H347 is a cyberpunk hacking action stealth emulator. Think Metal Gear Solid VR missions with a hacking twist. Despite the turmoils of life, I still got some work done that I'd love to share with you, starting with some much needed groundwork. I spent a good amount of time reworking and adding detail to the game design document. As the game has developed both in reality and in my head, I needed to step back a bit and figure out where the goalposts should be. Besides adding a bit more definition to the gameplay and the intended flow, I made the decision to add roguelite elements into the game, including a simple economy system for purchasing upgrades, added mechanical depth to allow for different builds and playstyles, and possibly, but not for certain, procedurally generated levels of some form or another. Some might call this scope creep, and that's right, the scope of the game is expanded. My original vision of the game did include expanding into a roguelite, but it got cut for the sake of keeping things as simple as possible. However, my views on the project and what I want from it have shifted, and so my original idea has come back into the picture. As you can see here, I spent a lot of time pinning down certain details. The hacking system, for example. Wow, okay, this is boring. Just gonna interrupt you for a quick sec. I told you that it's time old Lloyd did some renovating around here, and this right here is problem numero uno. If you want viewers to stick around, then you need to grab them by the throat and scream at them! It's not to say that there won't be story. In fact, I personally love it when a roguelite interweaves with a broader story. I'd go on, but I think you've been listening to me talk for a while now, and there's more work to do. So, getting back into the project with the intent to add a complex new feature made it very clear that the organization is lacking. Here's my project folder, and it's just a mess. There's a random picture of my old cat, and some clip art of a steak. This is almost too much to deal with altogether. I saw in a video that for prototypes, it's often a good idea to prototype each feature in its own project, so let's do that. It's not like we're totally scrapping the original project or anything drastic like that. Let's get started. First, I needed to bring back in a few basic elements like movement and interactions, but since we're at it, I can go a step further and improve on this. The old project relied on too many singletons and global variables, but we can do away with that. The interaction manager actually works fine as a standalone component. The more decoupled and reusable, the better. And it turns out that was actually pretty simple. But now onto something more involved. My improved hacking system. Whoa, this piece of junk actually worked? Oh, hey there. Oh, we just got these new hacking devices in the other day. And hey, are they incredible? Just $99.99 at your local Lloyd Lizard Wizard Bazaar of the Bazaar. Anywho, I swear I just said keep it entertaining, and holy frijolas, I'm stoozing over here. So, here's another Lloyd tip for you. Being entertaining is hard, but there's just about an infinite source of jokes and entertainment that's just already made. You just gotta slap a SpongeBob in there, or this guy. And if you're in a real jam for funny content, just do something random and stupid like...
What's wrong? Snake! Snake!
I want to give the player options. I want there to be several different ways to beat anyone's stage, so I need a robust hacking system. And yes, it has occurred to me that I'm putting a hacking simulator into a hacking simulator. It's going to be cool though, so let's get it done. This process took a while, but I am very excited with how it turned out. Because this is an action game, I needed the hacking elements to be seamless and have a flow to them. So I wanted to build a UI that pops into view while you're running around. I started with this idea of making a textured mesh pop out of any hackable object. Using a sub-viewport node, you can lay out your interface in 2D. Then, in your 3D mesh, you can create a new sub-viewport texture and select the viewport node as the texture source. After some clicking around, I found that by adding rim lighting to the material, you got a nice glow and could see the texture clearly. It actually surprised me how easy this part was. Animating the pop-in effect was pretty straightforward as well. However, things got complicated when I wanted to then expand the UI to show connections between objects, buttons, hacking tools, and keeping all this arranged nicely on screen in a way that is predictable and easy to read. Mapping a 3D UI to the 2D plane of the screen that also tracks in-game objects as you move around is actually kind of complex. So I quickly threw this together. This is a fully 2D overlay. I ditched the sub-viewport altogether. Now we have a single canvas layer node for the HUD, and I am using the camera's unproject position function to get a 2D coordinate that matches the hackable object's 3D position on screen. Now the UI elements still hover over their respective objects, but the size is consistent, and showing connected objects relative to the object you are standing next to is working well also. As a quick side note, I wanted some sort of way to visually see connections in Editor, so I made this tool script, which generates and positions a 3D line for every connection you add to the hackable objects. Every hackable object contains a tool script, which, a few times a second, loops through any connections in the connections array of the object, and then generates or repositions a line mesh to connect the two objects. Here's more iterations on the UI. Here I've added an action bar. Garbage. Ooh, this might sell. Oh, hey, I was just reorganizing the project a bit, and well, just look at this mess. How long is this thing gonna take to make anyways? Definitely not a year, that's obvious. And that brings me to my next tip. Why work so hard? I myself am a particularly seasoned sales lizard, and what sells these days is cheap garbage. Just look at your Temus and your Sheins and the Google Play Store. I know, your next video should be making a mobile game with AI, or let's pay a bunch of schmucks on Fiverr a few pennies to make the game for us. Now we're talking, baby. Cheap labor. Ah, cripes, the wizard's coming back. I better skedaddle. Huh. Something weird's going on, and our project folder is a huge mess now. We are not going to make a huge mess this time, so let's spend a few minutes organizing the project files. Whew, that's a lot of unsorted scripts and scene files. I have some bad habits I need to work on. Just making some folders for individual features, global scripts, custom resources, and we'll make a folder just for all the random test scenes we'll be making, and we're starting to look better already. Getting back into it, here I've added an action bar. Hackable objects can also have functions that trigger in the 3D game space, like doors, for example. Here's our first functional door already, and a locked door. I also added in this zoom effect and a player state that allows the player to be frozen in place during UI interactions. Now we need a way to unlock it, so here's the newest iteration of the unlocker tool. With this version, I stuck with the 2D UI overlay. There's also the beginnings of an additional failure state. The little diamond will eventually move towards the end of your progress bar, and if it catches you, then you're booted out of your attempt. Here's everything put together. The UI snaps into the left center of screen now. I added some visual feedback as you navigate the menu as well. The unlocker tool snaps into the right half of the screen and successfully unlocks the door. Next, I added connected hackable objects arranged around the selected object. I also thought it would be fun to visually show the hacking with the shader. Props to Arles80 for making this glitch shader and sharing it on GodotShaders.com. Iterating further, we have this radial selection visual for navigating to hackable objects through other hackable objects. And although it doesn't look much different, there was actually a far bigger change here under the hood. As I continued to iterate and add features and complexity to the hacking UI, it became clear that I needed more structure. So I redid pretty much all of the logic, but this time using state machines. I also gave the hacking UI as a whole its own state machine. And now that our code is more manageable, actually actual movement between hackable objects. We're very close to being able to hack a thing through another thing, which is going to be a key gameplay mechanic, like doors, for example. Here's our first functional door already, and a locked door. I also
Whoa, hey!
effect and a player state. You really got me there. It's so freaking dark in here, and you... What? Oh, you're just trying to watch the show? I'm being too loud. Listen, bub, maybe you're not being loud enough. You ever thought of that? You know what this show needs? A freaking audience! But ain't never gonna happen with Mr. Wizard yapping away.
Excuse me, you're causing a disturbance in the theater, and I'm gonna have to ask you to please leave.
You want a disturbance, huh? I'll show you what. Hey, let me go! You freaking forgotten 90s internet fed? You mangled pile of size 14 Arial?
Actually, I'm made from the Enter font, but it is similar to Arial, so I understand the mistake.
Like I give a rat tiny, you freaking typo, you overgrown apostrophe. Let me go! You're a backspace away from being nothing. You aren't even animated properly. Let me go!
Although it doesn't look much different, there was actually a far bigger change here. At this stage, I needed a break from the hacking, and I wanted the game to look nicer, so I decided to start bringing pieces of the original project back in, and work on the visuals too. Bringing the camera rig back, our Sentry NPC, the laser trap, the camera trap, plus a very simple but highly effective color change. That means you're all caught up with my progress over the last month or two. If you watched all the way through this ridiculous episode, I want you to know how much I appreciate you. Thanks so much for being here. If you want to support the channel, please like and subscribe. And I'd also love to see more viewers in our Discord channel, so check out the link below, especially if you like talking games and game development with other like-minded folks. No matter what you do next, just remember to always be kind and keep moving forward. Wizard Lizard out. Okay, that's not going in the outro. Oh, you made it out of the theater. What a racket, am I right? I'm just up here contemplating. You know old Lloyd likes to contemplate sometimes. Anyways. At Lloyd Lizard's Lizard Wizard Bazaar or the Bazaar, old Lloyd here is a saying. Faking it is making it. Not that our product's a fake or anything. Definitely not the case. Anyways, the point I'm trying to make is that YouTube is a hard gig, and there's no shame in using a few tried and true tricks of the trade to get that viewer retention up, or heck, just to have a video at the end of the day. So maybe your next video's a little more light on the elaborate presentation, huh? Give it a try. Oh, no. No funny business for me, thank you.
Alright.